So if you're new here, my name is Jason and this is the Outstanding Life Show. This is just my little intro. If you're new here, let me know. If this is the first time you're hanging out, please leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. I really appreciate all the positive engagement you guys share with me and how much that means to me. You know, there'll be days I'll wake up and I'll get messages from you and it's heartwarming, and the amount of compassion you guys share and the raw emotion, and I just want to celebrate how much I appreciate that level of transparency and honesty, and that really shows that you feel safe and that you show up and you enjoy the show, and that really means a lot. Okay, so if you want to know more, type notes in the comments if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, you got to visit the link below, outstanding.video/notes, and then we'll have them sent out to you. Or if you want to go check out the blog, just go to the same address, outstanding.video/blog, and then I just have all the show notes for that for the whole month just listed there in chronological order. Okay, so now that we've done the intros, let's move on. Let's dive into the content. If you want to know what the blog looks like, hold on, I'll just actually show you a little behind the scenes. And so here we've got the blog, and now what you're looking at, I'm just going to zoom in a bit so it's easier to see. So here we go. So when it comes to, because here we have addiction is more powerful than willpower. Now what do I mean by that? What I mean is when it comes to getting by, here I'll switch back to me. Okay, so when it comes to managing my addiction by myself, for the longest time, I had felt that it was something I could control. I felt it was something I could easily manage. I thought it was something I was in control of, but I was far from it. I don't know about you. I know that if I'm sitting there and I'm eating a bag of chips, it's not till I get to the end of the bag of chips that I remember that I was eating chips. It's a crazy analogy. It's not till I get to the second bag of chips that I was like, who ate the chips? Who was eating? And then there's no one else in there except for me and my cat. But you know what I mean? So I just blank out. I zone out. And so when it comes to my addiction, not that chips are addicting, but you just switch off that brain. You just switch off that habit. You don't even think about it. It's like breathing. You just like sit there eating popcorn like chips. And I'm eating away. And so when it comes to addiction, it'll just fold its way through. It'll just roll its way in. And you have no idea that it's there. I have no idea that it's there. And so when it comes to willpower is something where I'm confronted with it and I'm able to maintain, I don't want to say integrity, but I'm able to hold tight. I'm able to hold fast to my values, I want to say what I stand for. But when it comes to willpower, that's where it's challenged. It's not like I'm tempted with a bag of Skittles. I'm not being tempted with, but if you're just cruising through the store and all of a sudden you find a bag of Skittles in your cart, that's not willpower. That's just passively it working its way through. You just don't even recognize that you're doing it. You know, I've heard of, tell me if this makes sense to you or not. If it does, leave a message in the comments. If it doesn't, and I'm totally wrong with it, again, leave a message in the comments. But I've heard of chess grandmasters, when they're playing, when they're in their flow, when they're in their element, their hand will reach out to go do a move before their brain realizes that they're doing it. I've heard of very similar things when it comes to martial arts. Before their brain can rationalize what it's doing, it's already reacting. It's already in passive mode. You know, when you're operating at that high level, their standards are at such a high level that their passive brain is doing these amazing feats like Kung Fu, like winning chess at a grandmaster level. When you're operating at my level, I'm finding Skittles in my shopping cart without even thinking. I'm eating a bag of chips without even thinking, and I get to the second bag of chips before I realize I was even eating chips. So when it comes to addiction, when it comes to alcoholism and substance abuse, if I'm leaving my brain, if I'm leaving my willpower up to make decisions I'm going to be finding myself in the same scenarios. I'm going to be hanging out with the same people that I shouldn't be hanging out with. I'm going to be in places that I shouldn't be hanging out in. You know, they joke about it in the meetings, in the AA meetings. They'll say, one of my favorite meetings is like this old timer group. It's a closed men's group, but it's a old timer group, and they always have they say the most hilarious things. But they would say, Jason, if you hang out in a barber shop long enough, eventually you're going to get a haircut. So the question isn't, you know, do I need a haircut or not? I'm like, well, you just shouldn't be hanging out at a barber shop, you know, unless you need to get a haircut. Like, don't go to these places unless it's for a specific reason. Don't go and hang out in bars unless you want to get drunk. Don't go out and hang out with these friends unless you want to be in an environment you shouldn't be in. And so when it comes to addiction, mindset is super important. Who you surround yourself with is super important. Because the last thing I want is to be enabling my past. I don't want to be enabling that part of me. In the show notes, if you want the show notes, we have, hold on, I just want to go back. If you want the show notes, what we're chatting about here is I would try and stay sober. I would try and do it on my own. And I don't know if this makes sense to you, but whenever I tried to do things on my own, it never worked out. Like, they call it white knuckling. When I white knuckle my way through something, I'm just barely trying to get by. Like, barely. It's just me crossing the finish line. And in some cases, I wouldn't even finish. Like, I would just have the high expectation that I would do something, but I would never actually complete it. Like, I would believe that I could stay sober, but I would always end up drunk. I believed I could go and stay clean, and then ended up far from it. I look forward, like, I flashed to today, and I realized from a today standpoint, I never really surrendered that my addiction was more powerful than me. That it was stronger than my willpower. It was stronger than anything. Like, and because I never gave it that credit, because I never surrendered to I don't want to say my ego, because the ego would trump everything, because I would let the ego run wild. I would let the ego make decisions, and it would make me think that I was in control of my addiction. But it was far from it. It was like the complete opposite. It was like Bizarro World, where my addiction was in control of me. And when I ended up going to a meeting, when I went to that first meeting, it was early December 2012. I went to the first meeting, and I ended up going, and I knew my life wouldn't be the same. I knew that for me to succeed through this, I would need to admit that I was powerless and I was helpless over my addiction. And that was tough. Like, that was coming to terms with that wasn't an easy pill to swallow. What I began to appreciate, though, because of that, because of, you know, you get, when you first walk into a recovery, it's like hitting you in the face. Like, there's no way you can remain the same. I couldn't remain the same person who I was when I started those meetings, because by the time I finished treatment, by the time I completed rehab, we had gone to like 3 or 4 meetings a day for 9 weeks. So by the time I finished the 9 weeks, I wasn't the same person who I was when I started going to those meetings. So when I walked into the meeting, holy cow, eye-opener, game changer. Admitting I was powerless was step 1, yes, and that's really hard, yes, but it was hard because I let my ego be in the way. It was because I let my ego make me believe that I could control this. And in that inner conflict, the inner conflict was only there because I had given it substance. I had given it that permission to control, or to make me believe I was in control. And as soon as I had that disbelief, and I poured my effort into that disbelief, I became super upset, frustrated, resentful when it never worked out. When my life didn't pan out, I blamed everyone but myself. When I lost the job, it was always their fault, never mine. When my girlfriend left me, emptied out the house, waking up, coming home, I remember the feeling coming home after work, and the place was empty, and all I had was a box spring and a mattress. Well, and my computer, but that was it. I didn't have anything else. I didn't blame myself for that, even though I was the one completely responsible for not being a supportive boyfriend. You know, that first night of sleeping when you only have a box spring. I remember how cold that was. I remember how dreadful that feeling was, that sinking feeling. And yet I had tried to blame everybody but myself. I avoided accountability. I avoided responsibility. And it wasn't until I admitted defeat, until I succumbed to my addiction by admitting I was powerless over it, it gave me that, I was able to then say, I was able to recognize the limits I have. That in admitting I was powerless, by going to the meetings, by going to that first meeting, I was able to realize that what brings us to those meetings is individual. You know, what brought this person to the meeting is different than what brings me to the meeting. But what makes us stay is the message. And it doesn't matter where we're from. It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is what we want to be. And what matters is where we are now. And we celebrate each other. And what took me forever cost me a lot. And it cost me a lot because it took forever. Nobody was driving that bus except for me. Nobody was accountable for my life except for me. And the moment I admitted defeat, the moment I surrendered, I was able to then build a foundation that I could then use to grow to what I have today. And it reminds me, going to meetings, it reminds me that I need to stay sober, yes, but I need to also stay humble. And the continuous reminder of this isn't so that, it fears me into sobriety. No, but it inspires me to grow. It inspires me to dig deeper. It inspires me to wonder what can I do today to help make it better. I can't change my past, but what I can do is celebrate that I'm here. I can celebrate that I have a chance to help make things better. I have a chance to be sober today and tomorrow, and I can help inspire. So I want to say thank you, and I want to celebrate that. Yes, we're hanging out. Yes, we're having fun, and I really appreciate you guys. I wanted to do something fun also with season 2. We're doing something different in here. I'll just switch back to this other screen where we're going to do something different. We're going to have a gratitude of the day, and we're also going to have an action of the day. And I have this posted on the blog and in the show notes. So the gratitude of the day is, hold on, I'm going to get in the center. So the gratitude of the day is I'm going to be thankful for my higher power for helping me surrender daily. And then for the action of the day is today I will share with a close friend what life was like before and how far I've come since I've admitted defeat. So when it comes to addiction, here, let's move back. When it comes to addiction and when it comes to willpower, I know my willpower isn't strong enough. But when it comes to my addiction, I know that it sounds weird. I had to admit defeat before I could succeed, but that's what it took for me to move forward. And that's what took me so long. That's why it cost me so much. It's that ego that built up in me, thinking I could do it, and I could just do it with my willpower all by itself. I couldn't do it. And now, because I admitted defeat, I'm here with you amazing people. And I want to take a minute and say, I celebrate you. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for sending me messages, leaving comments, all the hearts and the stars. It really goes a long way, and it means a lot. So I look forward to seeing you in another video. Again, my name is Jason, and this is the Outstanding Life Show. All right, you take care and have fun. Bye.